morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Brent Harding, and I am the founder, pleasurably so, of Wealth Warriors. And today, my co-host is none other than the incomparable, the amazing author, speaker, Mr. Robert Randolph. Robert, would you like to say hello to our audience?
Good morning, everyone. Good to see from you.
I like that. Good to see from you. That's pretty good. Woo! We have a topic this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Taxes, taxes, and more taxes. What are we to do? The reason that that is such a heavy-duty topic is because, believe it or not, we're paying on average about 39% income tax. We may not realize it because by the time we do some adjusting for deductions, we're not paying that much. Oh, yes, you are. Look up the law. You will find that a law was passed in January that brought us to 39%. Okay. Bob, what do you think about that?
Oh, amazing. You really have to stay on top of that tax situation, to say the least. And especially, I think of tax and tax policy as relatively fluid. So you really have to stay on top of that.
And how would you suggest we stay on top of that, sir?
Well, in my personal situation, I'll tell you, I took the route of least resistance. I went out and hired a CPA.
Oh, okay. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, that was it. I basically, it cost you extra money, but the savings in terms of getting the proper deductions and peace of mind is incredible. So it's well worth the bucks that you spend to get a CPA. So I recommend that anybody doing a home business or whatever they're doing, that you budget somehow for the services of a good CPA.
True that. Absolutely true that. And that is what we're going to be talking about this morning among all the elements of Wealth Warriors. However, I am going to start out by sharing and giving a shout out. Let me say, I got a list here of the early warriors. And I'll tell you what, Ms. Carolyn Peters, you get the award for being the #1 person this morning. The wake-up call was out and you were there. I saw you. It said seen by Carolyn Peters. So I just want to say thank you very much, and it's good to have you aboard. Also, let me give a shout out to Kayla Suarez Romero. I hope I say this right, but I want to say Haim Diet, who is a new member to the Wealth Warriors. So if in fact I said that correctly, please forgive me and help me to say it properly. I also want to give a shout out to Elder Kim Shanks, to Cheryl Green, to, I want to say, Genevieve Fogel. Also, of course, we have Ms. Glover, Charmaine Glover, Alice Buca, Lisa I'm doing a bad job today, but I'm trying, Malgram, and of course, Mildred Allen. Welcome. Shout out to all of you who were up early, putting your name in the feed for this morning. So with that being said, we're going to ask everybody, put your name, tell us where you're hailing from. Are you hailing from Boston, Massachusetts? Are you hailing from Trinidad? Where are you hailing from? And what do you do? Because we want to be able to share business with each other. In fact, I started the feed, and what did I say? I said who I was, and I shared with you where I'm from, also what it is that I am doing today. And today I am a real estate investor. And what am I doing? I am asking you to share with me individuals who are first-time home buyers. We actually call them real estate investors, first-time real estate investors. And I'm asking you to share with me, if it's you or if it's somebody you know, then inbox me, because you know what that does? That helps our businesses to, in fact, grow. And that jazzes me to no end. And so whatever you do, if you've got something going on, we want to know about it. Am I right, Bob? Do we want to know about it? Do we want to be able to share the wealth within our Wealth Warrior Circle? Speak to that, Bob, because that's important for us to know.
Absolutely. What came to mind as you were speaking is that simple phrase, charity starts at home. And this is a wonderful platform for sharing our individual talents and our individual expertises. I think that's a word, um, among ourselves, because, one view of what you've created here, Brent, is that we are family. And so we should share among our family, certainly.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And so right now at 9:07 a.m., I want everybody take the fingers and go to your keyboards and tell us who you are, where you are hauling it, where you're hailing in from, and what it is you do, because that's important for us to be able to share the business with each other. So while we're talking this morning, please go ahead and tell us who you are, where you're hailing in from, so that we can do business with you. How about that? Now, with that being said, let's talk about the taxes, because that's what we're here for. First and foremost, I want you to know, everybody that's listening to the broadcast right now today, you are the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. You are the president of a company. What is she talking about? You are the president of Me Inc. That's right, M-E, comma, I-N-C, period, Me Inc. Bob, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a great way of designating yourself and differentiating yourself and your business from being a hobby, and looking at yourself as a well, I don't want to use the word corporate entity, but as a business entity. That's a very important distinction for people. So yes, I hardly agree.
You know what? You're absolutely right. It is a clear distinction because most of us do not think of ourselves as businesses. But here's the deal. Just like a conventional corporation, whether it's a C Corp, an S Corp, whether it's an LLC, an LLP, whatever the structure is, it pays some form of taxes, or it at least files some form of taxes. So to a certain degree, you and I actually become the president, the CEO of ourselves. And we're filing taxes. We're sharing with the federal government. We're sharing with the state government what income we've brought in to our business, because our business is ourselves. So we've brought an income into our businesses. Bob, you are the business expert. And in fact, you'll be speaking on our platform next week at a program that we're doing. You're going to be talking about being a business and our business structure. Well, in the structure of Me Inc., we're bringing in revenue. And most of the time, when people think about it, they think about the salary. If we were to say, think about it as revenue, Bob, what would you share with our audience regarding that?
Well, there's a great deal that we can share. Uh, One thing, just continuing on this theme about separating yourself and creating yourself as a business entity, I think you have to put some structure around yourself as a business entity.
Mhm.
And while we're on the subject of taxes, we want to be clear about what is the best form of business entity for us to avoid taxes. Because often what I see people doing is they don't worry about building and protecting themselves even from unusual taxation. And so one of the things you want to do, and that's why I suggest working with a CPA, is set up a business structure so that you can avoid certain kinds of taxes, and you don't mix your personal tax situation with your business tax situation. Those are two entirely different things, and they have to be thought of as separate in separate terms. So
Yes, you know what comes to mind? The word co-mingling.
yes, yes,
Uh, People do not realize that when you're taking the money from the business and you're putting it into the personal into the business, and we can't distinguish between the two.
exactly.
Serious problem, serious problem. And yes, if somebody says, well, you know what, Brent, I can go back and I can figure it out. Yeah, you can, but think about the time value of money and the amount of time that you're spending going back and trying to figure things out. That's huge.
Yes.
Um, you know what? With that being said, I want to share with you or talk to you about why this time of year becomes so prevalent and we talk about taxes so very much. And that is because we are in the last quarter of 2015, whether it's 2015, 2014, 2013, 2016, it doesn't matter. It's the last quarter, October, November, December. It is the last opportunity for you or I to make change so that it positively affects our tax base come January. So that's why you are going to hear so many discussions. And the thing is, the wealthy are monitoring all year long. Those that are, oh, you want to, I heard the laugh, so I know you need to chime in. Go right ahead, sir, chime in.
No, no, no. I was just underlining what you just said. That's that's make sure that the listeners underline that as an important issue.
For sure, for sure. Because when you are monitoring, you have not only control, but you know what it's going to take to reduce those taxes so that at the end of the day, you are paying significantly less. You have reduced those taxes. You know, you oftentimes will hear me speak about Mitt Romney from the perspective of his minimum amount of taxes that he paid. And people were so upset when he was running for office. And I said, you know what? I ain't mad at it. I just want him to show me how to reduce that tax base down from 39 to 14%. You
Yeah.
know, other than that, I'm not mad at him.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. We have the ability to do that, but it requires preparation. It requires us to know, to understand what's going on, to seek out the individuals that can make a difference for us and take action. And take action. Listen to what they're saying. Bob said he got a CPA. Why? Because it wasn't something he could do for himself. So what we're saying is we need to surround ourselves with individuals that have the expertise that we're lacking. And we've got to be willing to pay for it. Now, we interview so that we get the right person at the right price. We set a budget so that we actually have the dollars and cents to pay that professional. And that allows us to sleep at night. So right now, November, December, this is it. This is the last hurrah for structuring ourselves, structuring our taxes, taking advantage of opportunities that will allow us to minimize our tax liability. I like to refer to it as we are on a countdown. Now, if you got a nugget in just these few seconds, which one of the nuggets should have very definitely been that this is the last quarter. That should be a nugget. In fact, hashtag last quarter, hashtag take action, hashtag I am a first generation wealth baby. And so it is imperative that I take in what we've got going on here and make the adjustment. That's what we're talking about. Make the adjustment. Now, it is 1:15. Do you know what we do at 1:15? We give a shout out and we let people know the broadcast is going on. There's important information to be shared here and they need to be listening. So I want you to take a moment, go up to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to social media, LinkedIn, wherever it is that you post and say, join us on the Wealth Warrior broadcast because we got something to share for you. Taxes, taxes, and more taxes. What am I to do? Bob, speak to us about taxes, taxes, and more taxes. What are we to do?
Yeah, well, uh, the thing about taxes, there are two things we have to deal with, and that is death and taxes, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's
They say
that's the
the two guarantees. Yes, yes, that is true.
guarantee. Um, I would add that you want to make sure that you talked about staying on top of your taxes. One of the big shocks I initially had in setting up my own businesses was the fact that uh, I needed to pay taxes on a quarterly basis. And that's something you should certainly consult with uh, your CPA or your financial expert, uh, because one of the dangers of running a home-based business or a side business is that if you aren't careful, you end up uh, owing a large tax bill at the end of the year. And lots of times that either comes from your pocket or out of your profits or your revenue. So to come up with those large lump sums can sometimes be a challenge. So one of the big
Um,
things that I learned was figure out a way of paying your taxes on a quarterly basis. And that way you don't incur a large bill at the end of the year. You might even,
not only a large bill, but a large bill that you pay interest on as well.
yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's the thing
Oh,
that
sorry.
comes to mind that a lot of us home-based business people don't take into consideration.
True that, true that. And you know what Bob spoke about when he said death in taxes was certainly for real. Um, with that being said, remember that we've got two sets of taxes here. We've got Uncle Sam, which we're all familiar with, and depending on whatever state you're in, we got cousin Massachusetts here where we live. Wherever you are at, you've got that combined amount of activity. So when we think about that, one of the things that should come to mind is how do we reduce them? Or better yet, how does the wealthy reduce that tax liability? Bob mentioned it. He said businesses. I'm going to come back to businesses in just a moment. But one of the things that we do, we buy real estate. We own our own home. We get that home-based deduction, that homeowner's deduction. We get to deduct the interest on the home that we live in. We get to deduct that on our Schedule C. And ladies and gentlemen, that is powerful. We get to deduct that interest. That's only one segment, but I'll tell you what, if you're ever wondering what the significant benefit of owning a home is about, in part, it is about taking that rental money that we were paying, which we don't get any deduction on, and turning that into a mortgage that pulls down our taxes. Bob, what do you think about home-based or home owner tax deductions in the
Oh,
form?
very important. And and taking that one step further, for those who have office space in their homes, they certainly want to look at that as a deduction. So, that goes in the expense column that you can write off. So you want to make sure not only do you take off the interest, but you also want to take off the space that you use for conducting your business. That can lead to a significant deduction.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I want to give a disclaimer. Remember, we are giving a disclaimer here, and it says that we, Bob and I, Wealth Warrior Broadcast, are not tax professionals. What we
Yes.
what we're able to do is provide you with information and share with you that it is imperative that you see the professional that has not only the authority, but has the documentation, the credentials behind themselves to service you. What we're doing is giving you information that you can walk with to that tax preparer, to that tax professional, and you can say, well, what about this and what about that? So I want to make sure this is a disclaimer here and now. We are not tax professionals.
Exactly.
With that being said, one of the things we had the home base, we talked about, or I should say the home interest deduction. Let me share this. You've heard Bob and I say this a few times. Business. Wealthy people own businesses. They own generally more than one business. In part, why? Because they can reduce their tax base. Now,
Yes.
oh, so sorry, Bob. With that being said, understand that business is about being profitable. We must be in pursuit of a profit. So we're not just opening up a business so that we can have a tax deduction. We do have to demonstrate that we are in pursuit of a profit. The government allows us 5 years to become profitable. So understand this. 2 out of the 5 years, you've got to demonstrate profitability during that first 5 years. And thereafter, you've got to demonstrate you're in pursuit of a profit. You've got to either make a profit, or you've got to demonstrate why maybe you've deducted down so you're not showing a profit because you've had the deductions, but you've had the revenue come in to substantiate that. So we're not saying go out and just capriciously own a business, but we're saying every wealthy person owns businesses. There is a reason for that. Bob, speak to that for just a moment.
Well, yeah, I think you pretty much said it, Brent. There's a multitude of sins that you can cover up with a business entity,
Oh,
and there's a lot of places that you could put your money as long as you have a business entity, and treat yourself like a corporation. Uh, and while we're talking about that business structure thing, one of the things I did is I got myself incorporated as an official standard corporate entity, and I started a business, and I worked very hard at it, and I didn't earn any money during that year.
You had no money earned?
I earned zero, and what happened was, to my surprise, depending on the state that you incorporate in, and you mentioned us living in Massachusetts, I got a bill from the state anyway. And I had to come up with, at the time, it was quite a while ago, but at the time I had to come up with $1,400 to pay my state corporate taxes. So be careful about, when you create a business entity, where you create that business entity and what the tax liability is on that business entity, independent of the revenue you make or don't make. Very important consideration.
So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what I hope that you're hearing thus far is this. First of all, you, we, us, we are the CEO, president of Me Inc. Whoever we are of Me Inc. What we also heard, just based on what Bob shared here just a few moments ago, that it is imperative that we understand not only our structure, but why right now, November, December, actually October, November, December, are such critical months for those that are in pursuit of wealth, for those that are fighting for their family's financial future, fighting for your family's financial legacy, that we need to be about the business of being great, not good, great planners. We need to be working every single month, and it starts right now. It starts by sitting down with a professional, understanding the position that we're in, because the reality is we're paying 39% income tax. My family, some of my family lives in London, and they pay 50% income tax. And I thought, wow, I live in the United States, until I realized that, wait a second, they've passed a law that most of us do not even realize has happened. And we are actually paying 39% income tax. So you add your federal and your state, And you're sitting up here going, no wonder I'm on a treadmill. Well, guess what? It's time to get off the treadmill. Now, if you own a piece of property, if you own your own home, you've got a mortgage interest tax deduction. Give yourself a check mark. If you do not own a home, then we need to communicate because all of us need to be investors. Why? Property appreciates. Right now, if you are living in Massachusetts, if you are living in Boston in particular, holy smokes, has that curve gone up? Has that S curve or that real estate curve or the 10-year curve, has it gone up? And we are now at the zenith of real estate. If we were talking 3 years ago, a three-family property, 300 or 400,000. Now 750,000 is what's being asked. That's called appreciation. We didn't have to do anything to acquire it other than to own it. That's why real estate always stays steady. But, no, not but, however, Bob, I remember the but. When we say but, what it means after that. So no buts here.
Yeah. Get your butt out of the way.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, however, it is important for us to take the next step. Here's the check mark. Check real estate. Next check, business. We need to own a home-based business because it adds to the deductions. You heard Bob talk about the fact that he talked about deducting an office from your property. Do you realize this? And if you are renting right now, you can do the same thing. Do you realize that you get to deduct however many rooms? Let's say it's a 5-room unit, whether it's a condo, whether it's a house, whether it is an apartment. Let's say, for the sake of argument, it's 5 rooms. Well, 1/5 of your unit gets to be deducted as part of your business. And not just 1/5 of the unit, but you have 1/5 of the utilities get to be deducted as part of your business because it's servicing your business. Now, this cell phone that we pay for, guess what? It is now a business expense. That's what makes business so delicious. And that's why the self-employed, the franchise-like business owners, whatever the structure is, that's why you hear us talking so vividly about business, about the opportunity that business presents for you and I. Bob, speak to business now that we're talking about business as a deduction that the general population, because I don't like that word. When they say ordinary people, no, I'm not ordinary. Are you ordinary? Of course you're not. We're special because we exist. So for the general population, for the general populace, why is owning a business from a tax deduction perspective so pivotal? Bob, share that with us.
Well, I will go back to my previous conversation, and that is that you become, as a business owner, and a legitimate business owner, I would add, somewhere you establish some kind of business entity or some structure for doing business. Let's put it that way. If you've established an official structure for doing your business, like an LLC or Chapter S corporation or something like that, what you get to do is you get to separate your personal taxes from your business taxes. And you can, as a business owner, for example, you can shift many of those quote unquote things that were personal taxes. You can actually allow yourself certain benefits as a business owner, and they could be non-taxable. And so the bottom line is, as a business owner, you get to keep more of what you earn. By the way, as part-time business owners, that is, people who really have jobs and they have that personal tax structure that they have to deal with. We especially need to separate our businesses from quote unquote our day-to-day jobs. And as I said, then we can put a lot of things in that. So, and you have to be very careful about what you put in there. I think many people have seen these headlines: CEO arrested or charged with using using corporate money to fix up his house or something. So we have to be very careful about that sort of thing. And again, that's where a professional comes in. But certainly with and just look at the corporation.
Oh, Bob, I think we lost you there for a moment. We'll bring you back as soon as you unfreeze. You'll come on back to us. Bob was going down the absolute correct trail. In fact, we know right now people are under scrutiny. We know that some of our presidential candidates are under scrutiny. Why? For commingling. Now, here's an interesting thing. Even when you pay it back, it still becomes suspect. We know that somebody used a credit card to handle some personal matters, and then what ended up happening? Paid it back, but it brings up scrutiny. And so we don't want to be on somebody's radar, for an issue. That's not where we want to be, because once you're on the radar, periodically you come back. And so we don't want to be in a position where somebody comes back and revisits us. Let's keep it streamlined. Let's keep it clean and keep records. It is so important for you to keep, the irony is, in a society that continues to say that we're trying to get away from paper, paper is still king. Paper still becomes documentation. If for anything else, then you want to use one of the machines that can take that and it will copy it. You put it on DVD, put it on CD, put it in your computer, whatever the case, put it in the cloud, but have some storage that can be printed off, because again, paper then becomes king. And make sure that it's a powerful storage. Bob, you're back with us. You were continuing on thoughts. I don't want to take you off of that. I want to come back to our businesses in just a moment, but go right ahead. I want you to continue your thought.
I'm sorry. I'm on my cell phone, and I get this message all of a sudden. Phone is getting too hot, shutting down.
I see.
But in any case, I was talking about the importance of treating yourself and your taxes the same way that major corporations do. And of course, the major corporations, they have teams and departments of people that are actively engaged in figuring out ways to reduce taxes or pay no taxes. And that's pretty common practice in the business world. Well, on a smaller scale, I think we can maybe not have teams of or departments of people helping us with that. But certainly, and I don't want to have this thing sound like a commercial for CPAs or anything, but there's just so much advantage in dealing with a professional financial person that can assist you. And I got in one of my businesses, I got in trouble with taxes, and the IRS was camped on my doorstep at one point, and
that is.
I just went to the door and said, "Here's the name of my CPA. Please contact him," and close the door. So, I mean, there's incredible power in working with a professional financial person. I can't emphasize that too much, because boy, that, as I said earlier, that the tax code and deductions and all of that stuff, that is clearly a moving target. And we, in terms of, especially if we're working a job and we're trying to do our business on the side, and I mean, we just don't have time to keep up with all the nuances and the changes in the tax code. So, that few bucks that you put out to have a professional, boy, it makes all the difference. And it will make all the difference in your business success, I think.
You know, it was interesting as I was thinking about what you just said here. One of the things that we can do with that tax professional is that tax professional can help you to make sure you set aside the monies so that you can pay him or her. How about that?
Absolutely.
That's going to be a smart tax professional because he or she is going to go, oh no, that's not going to be a problem. We're going to set this aside and this aside and this aside. You're going to have the money to pay me.
Exactly. Good point.
Uh, there, not only are we talking about CPAs, and Bob brought it out, CPAs, financial planners, insurance. Actually, there are insurance professionals because there are tools, there are products that become part of your investment that you can literally invest in relative to insurance. So let's open that up. Again, financial planners, tax preparers, insurance individuals. And I knew, you know, Bob, as you were talking about a team, guess what, folks? As wealth warriors, yes, we want a team around us. We do want that team. And at a minimum, that team includes exactly what Bob talked about. And here's the deal. I do not begrudge the tax services that are out there. The ones that we have gone to in the past, we're not going to name names because we know who they are, but we're going to say this. You're a warrior. You are fighting for your family's financial future and for the legacy. You are in the midst of greatness. You are in the midst of proceeding to the door called wealth. So open it up. And part of what happens, wealthy people have a team around them. Like Bob said, oh, no, 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 you need to call my tax preparer. Oh, no, 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 you need to call my attorney. Oh, no, 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 you need to call my financial planner. We have people around us so that they handle those issues. So guess what we can be about the business of doing? Creating the legacy.
Yes, building our business.
Building our businesses. Now I'm going to share something with you. Bob and I have been assessing the offers that are on the table for all of you, our warriors. And what we've realized is that many of you are not taking advantage of the offers that are on the table that benefit you. For example, what I have shared with you is businesses, opening up a business. What's the best business to open up, or what's the best kind? Well, I'll share this. I'm going to try again. For less than $500, most of us can typically open up a home-based business. We can open up now a specific kind, and that's generally in the network marketing field, the network marketing industry. Brent, oh my goodness, you keep harping on that. I hear it over and over and over again. Well, yes, you know why? Because it's the most cost-effective way to be in business. That's one. Secondly, it's usually a turnkey operation. All the systems are already set up for you. So you do not need to go about figuring out the systems. You move to operating the systems. You are able to initiate action today. That's why you hear us talking about network marketing as one of the most effective ways to be in business. You are in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. And when you select that kind of industry, you figure out what fits best for you. For me, it was travel. Why? Not only for me, for Bob. Why did we open up a travel business? Because it's an $8 trillion a year industry. Everybody does it. I don't have to go out and look for customers. They come to me. They tell me what they're interested in doing. Or I say, guess what? I'm going to Dubai in 2016. You want to come along? Let's go. And they respond and let me know that. And guess what happens? They respond. In fact, I'll tell you what, Bob is going to be moving to Panama, and I'm telling you, he could set aside a room and he could just keep renting that room out because everybody that hears about the fact that he's going to Panama says, you got a room? So you got a built-in a revenue stream just from people that want to come down and visit Panama. Am I right?
Well, yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be hard to send my friend bills for coming to visit, but that's the
Oh, no,
plan.
no, no, Bob. That room is a business right there because usually people take advantage of opportunities. Okay, now,
Let
Bob,
me,
Bob,
as you.
Bob, wait a second. I'm your friend now. Now, you got to cut me a deal.
Oh yeah, right. While you were speaking about that, I want to absolutely underline that what you just said. One of my favorite books is called Multiple Streams of Income. That's by Robert Allen, and he devotes an entire chapter to network marketing. I heartily recommend that everyone who's interested in making additional income, perhaps creating some wealth, I heartily recommend that they borrow that book from the library or purchase it or whatever. And he talks about the several pillars of wealth. And one of those pillars, by the way, in real estate, and one of the pillars that he talks about for developing wealth is the network marketing business. And so if you haven't read that book or you don't own that book, I would suggest that you rush out and get that book as soon as you can, and that you go through that book and begin to understand the whole notion of multiple streams of income. And I think that's what Brent has really been talking about here in specific terms and in general terms, uh, and talking about creating businesses as the general subject we're on. Actually,
I
that's
like that.
one of the most important books that I think I've read in my career.
Spectacular. In fact, somebody please put that in the feed. Multiple Streams of Income by Robert Allen. That's a hashtag moment right there. Multiple streams. In fact, that's a hashtag moment. That's a nugget moment, because I will share this one with you. Bob and I have read a number of books. We're going to streamline and narrow the focus and give you the books that really resonate right now or hit the target. It's not that a number of books do not, but I'll tell you, I was listening to Brian Carruthers recently, and I attended an event that he put together. And one of the things that he said is, I don't read a lot of books, but I read classics over and over, because as our life changes, we take in more information. Sometimes we say, why didn't somebody tell me this 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And you know what? They probably did. It's just we didn't hear it the same way 5 years ago as we hear it now. Would you agree, Bob?
Oh, absolutely. I had that multiple streams of income book. After I bought it, I kind of thumbed through, looked at the chapters, and I put it on a shelf. And one day I picked it off the shelf and started reading it. I didn't even realize there was a section on network marketing. And
Wow.
I just kind of skimmed through there, and boy, I sat down and I went through that section uh, with a fine tooth comb, and ended up getting some incredible ideas out of just the way he posed it. He talked about uh, the questions you need to ask to justify the network marketing business model. He also talked about why they fail and why they succeed. I mean, it's a very thorough uh, treatment of the whole notion of network marketing. So, and it's by a guy that not originally he made a ton of money by publishing books called Nothing Down Real Estate. That was his claim to fame.
Yes,
That's
yes, yes, yes.
where you heard his name before. But he's gone on to produce these other books that are about creating wealth, and that particular book is major. As a matter of fact, there are several editions, so make sure that you get the latest edition because he keeps adding stuff. But yeah.
Nice. Nice. I appreciate that. In fact, you know what? You brought up, there was a term that I wrote down as while you were speaking, and that was business model. Because oftentimes, what I have found in my experience with network marketing as a business model and a business to structure is that one, people, we're not encouraged to read about it, to understand that it is a profession. That's one. Secondly, whoever is our leadership or our sponsor does not help us to recognize and understand that it is a business, that we run our businesses. In fact, Bob, on the 14th of this month, you're going to be doing a presentation around the business structure. Could you speak a little bit to that relative to network marketing and why people oftentimes do not realize that that's what they have a business?
Yes. Don't get me wound up, Brent. I'll give the whole, I'll give the 1 hour, gonna squeeze that whole 1 hour lecture into, a few minutes here and scare everybody away. But the key things in the materials I put together are, number one, there's a basic decision that people need to make about doing any kind of add-on business, and that is this going to be a hobby or is it going to be a business? And that's an important internal decision that people need to make for themselves. As far as network marketing, there are a lot of opportunities out there. The business opportunity comes along, they sign up, and then what do they do next? Well, what they do next is they structure some kind of business entity. And what might...
Can you hold just one moment? You brought up a very important point there. Holton Buggs, who is a very well-known network marketer, made a point of saying this. The average, we're going to go average, the average person signs up. The wealth warrior registers a business. Mindset.
Very important distinction. Very important. I don't know. I'm not familiar with this hashtag thing, but that's a hashtag for sure. You register a business. Oh man, yes, you got to put that front and center, and that's key. And I'm going to add that to my presentation. Thanks, Brent. Anyway, what we're trying to accomplish in the materials I put together is to begin to say, to do a very simple thing, and that is create a business entity. And I talk about all the elements that involves, because if you're going to be the CEO of a business, you've got several business elements that you've got to deal with, and you've got to put those things in place so that you can deal with them. For example, you need some kind of business plan, and at least to get yourself organized and to put yourself on track and to figure out where you are in your business as you go along and where you're going to go. So I've devised a one-page business plan, and people get a little nervous when I say a one-page business plan, but that's the minimum you have to have. You don't have to go out and produce a 50-page document because you're not going out to get financing. You can have yourself a one-page business plan where you can keep all your objectives and your strategies and a view of your budget right there on one page. So I'm suggesting a simple approach to developing a business entity so that you can know where your business is and you know where your business is going. And that's the basis of the discussion that I'm calling Business Structure 101.
I appreciate that, Bob. When I think about this relative to our topic this morning, taxes, taxes, and taxes, what we're sharing with you is one, that we've got, as homeowners, We have a delicious mortgage interest tax deduction, but it's not enough. For those of us that are renters, guess what? We're missing a major tax deduction. And if our destination is to create a lifestyle that produces wealth, a lifestyle that produces generation after generation finances that allow them to live that American dream, if you will, then we need to modify some things right now. Owning a business is a baseline. Owning a real estate, owning that home that you live in, baseline. Second baseline, owning a business. Third, cost-effective baseline is a network marketing business because it is the most expedient business to be involved in. Whatever you choose, whatever makes you happy, whatever you actually like, whatever that case may be, it helps you to actually press forward and reduce the taxes. Now, with that, once you say, hey, I want to create wealth, I want to be a wealth warrior, I want to make these things happen, here's an important element. We need to understand that our life is going to change tremendously. We are going to have a team around us. We're going to feel like rock stars, but we're going to have a baseline team around us so that we can actually do the work that's necessary to live the lifestyle that we want to live. Notice I use the word we, I didn't use the word I, because from this moment on, you are building a team around you so that you can create incredible success. Business is a part of that. Now, one of the reasons that in my mind that oftentimes network marketers are not as successful as they would like to be is because they do not understand or have a structure. They're not seeing this as a business. They're generally seeing this through the lens of excitement and enthusiasm. Great. Once that is done, it's time to see this as a business. And you know, when Bob and I we are going to be doing a venture together. And one of the things I said is, okay, we need to have these many pieces of action occur in order to have a return on the investment. See, we start to talk in that language, and we need to look through that lens of what is the revenue that's coming in against what are the expenses that are going out, and how do we increase the revenue. So that's where I'm going with this. Is that's what network marketing is about, which we're making a shift. It's no longer that chase and that highlights. It can be those, but behind the scenes, it's got to be, what is this business about? Bob said something very important. He said a business plan. Well, guess what? Whether we own a business or not, we need to have a business plan about our lives so that we're not on that treadmill. Because I'll tell you what, it is very sad when I hear grown men and women having to request their vacation time a year in advance. Brent, if I don't request it, I'm not going to get it. I can recall, I've had 2 instances where I've heard of individuals who have said, I've had to ask, can I go to the bathroom? And I'm sitting there rocking because I need to go to the bathroom so bad, but I have to ask for permission. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about freedom, financial freedom. And you know what? If it is to be, then who is it up to? If it is to be, it's up to me. We have to be a participant. We can't stand on the sidelines. We can't be in the bleachers. We got to be down on the floor. Bob, what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's. I think in general, we have to participate in life, and if we make the decision that wealth is financial freedom, I use that term interchangeably. Mm-hmm. If we choose financial freedom, then we have to be willing to get into the arena and make it happen. Absolutely.
True that. I love that. Get into the arena. Yes, we do. If you want to be in the game, you got to get on the floor and play.
Exactly.
I want to leave us with a couple of things. First of all, there was a book that you saw that was in the feed, and it's the 475 tax deductions for self-employed individuals. That is the Bible tax book for us. That is something that ought to be in our library. And I'll tell you what, if you want to have an idea of the tax deductions that are yours, that are available for you as a business owner, then there's nothing like starting to thumb through that book and you're going, whoa, I can do, wow. It shows you it is one of the greatest elements for helping us to understand what we have right here in our hands. And so many of us need to have that. We need to be utilizing that. That is business at its finest. That's when we've taken that little less than $500 opportunity, business opportunity that somebody invited us to. We said, yeah, I like this one. If you do not like travel, then maybe you like product. But whatever the case may be, and I want to make one more distinction for all of us. We own the business. You know, some of us say, oh, well, I'm not a salesperson. Let me tell you something. We're selling every day. I'm selling you right now on watching this broadcast every week. Bob is selling you on the consulting services that he has. We sell all the time. Mind shift, paradigm shift. You own the business. When you own a network marketing business, you actually own a franchise-like business. You know, some of us said, oh man, if I had the opportunity to own a Mickey D's, or I had the opportunity to own a Burger King, or I had the opportunity to own a Taco Bell, you got the opportunity to own a franchise-like business that has the same effect with not all of that overhead. Take that into account, because that's pretty daggone powerful. So listen, we've got 3 more minutes before the top of the hour. Let me do a rundown of what we've accomplished today and what needs to be in the feed. First and foremost, you are the head. You are the CEO of Me Inc. It's all about you. Next, this is the last absolute time for you to be doing that planning, taking advantage of starting a business right now. And when you do, the federal government allows you to go back 3 months and make those deductions, because 3 months was the prep for this business that you decided to get into. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It is not too late for you to open up the doors, but guess what? We're on countdown. Next, remember this. We are paying 39% income tax. So it is imperative for us to get some of that back. In fact, it's our right to get some of that back, but we've got to do it the right way. Next, remember, baseline financial freedom is owning your property. Second baseline is having a business. 475 tax deductions right now available to you. Get the book. Also, Bob wrote out a very good book, Multiple Streams of Income by Robert Allen. He talks about the best business model on the planet. Hashtag register your business. Hey, Bob, do you have any final words? And also, let us know about your consulting services before we get off the air. Go right ahead, Bob.
I sometimes, thank you, Brent. I sometimes equivocate and talk about coaching and business consulting. So I really do both, and I'm finding out that either resonates with people. And I've put together a plan. I think I shared this with you, Brent, at one time in my life as a consultant. I was being billed out at $312 an hour, and I'm not going to do that to my friends.
We appreciate it, Bob.
I've come up with a nominal rate that is very attractive for small business startups. I've done several startups myself, and I'm currently working on a startup, as a matter of fact. And I would like to offer my 40 years of corporate experience in marketing and business to people who'd like to take advantage of it. and we should talk about that at some point. But you can find me on Facebook at Randolph Associates, and we can connect that way.
I appreciate that, Bob. Thank you. That was a great plug. You did it very well.
Thanks.
Well, we appreciate having you on here every week with me as one of my co-hosts. So I really do thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to ask folks to start following me on Periscope. And if you go up to Periscope, download that app, look for Brent S. Harding, and follow me. We're going to start not only broadcasting, but you're going to be able to see behind the scenes, because we're going to actually show you and do that live. So we're going to run both sides. So it should be pretty exciting. Next week, we will be back, obviously, on Saturday morning. You will see the broadcast. We do live, and we also pre-record when we're not here, but we're not going to miss an opportunity to be with you, our audience. In the words, as always, of Mr. Trevor Otts, I want to share with you today, go out and be absolutely amazing. We'll see you next week. Bye now.